All right, howdy. Welcome to a different type of video and a different type of archive. I just have something to get through really quickly because you're probably here because you're newly aware of the Children of America tour and you've requested in some way to get a little bit of like the full philosophy behind the reasoning for the tour. So thank you so much for, first of all, coming across me in life. You mean so much to me, the fact that you take this revolutionizing movement so seriously and that you see a part of your own story within it. We fortify one another and we fortify the group cause at this time in the Lord's year of 2025 by being, in the posture of unity consciousness. So thank you so much. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. This is, like I said, just a different type of recording. I just need to record this because I don't know. I should do this right now in my timeline so that it's already available because I just like to do the read it and learn it and digest it at your own time. But again, whether you have come to the Children of America tour just for information, if you actually do feel motivated to connect further after something like this, if you have taken next steps, and God willing, if you are a sponsor of any kind, and this just really feels like the verbiage that could give you a sweet kiss at this time, then I'm so happy for that. There's two documents I wanted to read that I feel like make up the original channeled message of the body of the tour in and of itself. Again, I don't even know if I said this, but my name is Alexis. I don't know if you got this video from me, likely, but if you didn't, my name is Alexis. I am the birther of this beautiful project on behalf of Creator Prime Source. So, very excited. Oh, this is my husband here as well. This is just a different video. I'm really just reading these documents. That's why it's not really conversational. But yes, my husband Dennis is here. But yeah, just reading this out as for specifically the purpose of making sure that we have this available for you so that you have it verbalized. And like I said, you could pass this along. I would really, really hope that if this resonates with you, that it prompts you to think about who else this type of prophetic word might be timely for, like I said. So anywho, let's get into it. But we've got two documents. We've got the original press release, and then we also have the contract for the tour in and of itself. I just feel like it needs to be public record. I just feel like I need to read these things so you know where in the timeline we did things. So I'll re-say this, but the contract in and of itself was channeled in January of 2025. The press release, which is basically the meat and potatoes, no real meat, vegetable meat, but the meat and potatoes of the actual tour in and of itself and what the movement behind the artwork and the partying and the good time. So I'm going to actually read the press release released and out with the studio first, and then I'll do the contract in a second. Thanks for giving me 3 minutes of yap time. Okay, here we go. So the draft date was Monday, March 10th, 2025, drafted by Alexis. That's me, so I wrote this. The document type is obviously a press release from Tethered Studios 2025. So the title is as follows: Karmic parents across the globe forced to release God's children's destiny back to their rightful owners. Liberated children run rampant in the streets with their newfound freedom. It is currently 8:05 a.m. in Round Rock, Texas, where the universe has me seated at the laptop writing this breaking news as it comes into my own crown chakra. As my husband and I awoke, we could sense a feeling of nostalgia for a time we were sure we had never experienced. My husband looks at me in the shower as the water poured over his crown, and he said the following: I remember being younger and feeling for this moment in time, almost like no matter what I was going through, I knew I'd be living like this one day. And that was the incentive to keep going. I looked at him and knew God was speaking through him directly on behalf of the collective. I saw the chaos firsthand in my own home. The karmic parents of the world have been found guilty of a spiritual crime. To conceive a child outside of the kingdom of God, making your parent/child relationship karmic, means you have given birth to something that will take you, the parent, outside of your original individual abundance and blueprint. What does that mean? It means that if conceiving a child karmically gets added onto the map of your life beyond the veil, this redirection results in a forfeiting of certain preordained abundance you are here to retrieve. And because these karmic parents have lost vital resources, they resulted in manipulating the excess abundance that belongs to their children that sits idle for their children to come to consciousness and claim. It is important to note that it is not an age that brings on adolescence, but rather cycles of consciousness. And so, this is why it varies from child to child when they are ready to begin guiding their own lives. This experience of karmic family dynamics is the reason parents begin targeting their children. The parent's birthright was unconsciously forfeited, and some innocent child will spend its formative years being raped of every valuable birthright they're even old enough to know that this took place. This feels justified from the karmic parental perspective, like the child in them is just trying to look after vital nutrients they need to be successful in this spiritual existence, by any means necessary. This is an experience many children know intimately. Let's call this the scapegoat role in within a karmic family dynamic. This role is not pure hearsay. It actually holds a lot of validity and truth. We know scapegoating has a plethora of negative and adverse side effects on the individual and the child's perception of reality, hence why the liberation of today feels so abrupt. Many unconscious and disobedient individuals who became parents due to propaganda are now finding the unavoidable truth of the Seven of Swords to be waiting for them. When you make a decision to karmically reproduce, this life-altering experience will inevitably result in a sensation of being stolen from constantly. This is what sacrificing your path to birth something not ordained will result in: a theft of original property. Your imbalanced lower base chakras have you believing sex is something to crave and fulfill without divinity. This lustfulness has you randomly selecting partners who you have no real way of verifying your alignment to, which usually results in sexual experiences with misaligned energies. Let's categorize this as non-consensual in a consciousness way. That seed of non-consent has now been germinated with the egg of another. This fertilization is biological and non-discriminate in nature, and so the will of man becomes manifest outside of God's kingdom. We define God's kingdom as all the shit that is truly preordained in the grand design beyond the veil of unconsciousness. And so, creating something just to create it without consciousness has no place in this calculated equation that is Mother Earth. And so, I am here to bring solidarity to scapegoated children everywhere who are just finding that reparations have been paid today on your soul for you having undergone this unknowingly. Ever heard a parent bellow in despair about wanting their old life back post-karmic childbirth? Maybe you are this parent. Just know this: the karmic gavel is knocking today. The children of these disobedient individuals are being freed as I type, and they are today years old when their divine birthright can and will be bestowed back to them in full. The parent collective, on the other hand, has betrayed Creator Prime Source, so much that parents no longer will be trusted moving forward with the abundance of their that the children they bear possess. What does this mean for humanity experientially, Alexis? It means no child will have to wait to take on the full power they possess. The respect of authority we expect of our youth will become entirely spiritual, and thus the only elders to respect moving forward have spiritual honors designated by Creator Prime Source. This also means that, unfortunately for parents worldwide, you will no longer receive benefits associated with your child's existence in the form of reparations paid to and through you to provide for them. All abundance, as we will see, returns to the individual exclusively. So, per the original design, parenting will shift starting today. Back to a framework that says only the truly abundant have enough to spare to jumpstart the life of another. No more childbearing for non-abundant, unconscious individuals. You may be seeing this firsthand in your community starting today. There is a massive disconnect and realignment at this time from people/individuals. The old world would argue are foundational to your experience, your so-called karmic parents. This is because these people, your parents, have been judged by God. They have been seen for their complacency and abuse of power, and there will be a debting taking place to cover the cost of the child's lives affected. If you are a free and sovereign child of God, this is your moment. You will wake up today, almost out of nowhere, wondering why suddenly your dreams and reality are two sides of one coin that represents your entire value assigned at birth. You who walk your path without a heads up are standing here, fully present, receiving in exchange for your old slavery paradigm a limitless existence to dance and play with the children of this world. I cannot speak to how this day will feel to every individual. I can only tell what shift the age of Aquarius is ushering first and foremost. It is time for the children to be released from their slave owners to be able to be responsible for themselves and one another. I always knew this tour would begin when this moment in time on earth would be happening. I have proof of this because of what has poured out over me the last 70-some days of this year, 2025 alone. I am thankful today because what is happening to me Dharma-wise is taking place for all children everywhere. It may not be time for all children to read these words as I am writing them. However, their freedom is happening as I type each continuing thought. My childhood is right now. This will be the truth for all children of America, a country whose founding parents have blood on their hands that should have never been blamed on the rising generation of prodigal children. We, as the children of this nation, unite a movement that honors a different shift in power for the ages. We are all equal, regardless of age, sex, gender, religion, identity, etc. Every child will age, every adult is a child. Being a parent is and always will be a choice. Never forget that Tethered Studios was the only premier literary institution covering spiritual news during this time and in this way. I want to assure all humans that our history was recorded, outside of the regulator who feels the need to tell us what news of our lives is important to us. All information informs. Be open to everything. The magic you begin yielding starting today is more powerful than anything you have ever witnessed in your entire experience. I want every child to know they are a part of this beautiful procession through this country we are native to. I want every child to know this tour was written by a child for other children. Every partnership, collaboration, and helping hand that changed the fabric of my reality, as well as the mission of both Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios, and now World of Art headquarters, is for the children. We need kids to know that they have other kids of every age who back them and support them to walk their unique and predestined paths. I want every child to receive true information, free from deceit and manipulation, because it is their right as equal humans. I want each child on this planet to someday read these words and know the child that I am was thinking these thoughts and doing this work as it needed to be done for myself and others on earth at this time. I want to be sure that the onset slaughter of children and their futures is put into a swift and abrupt full stop. There will never be another desecration of God's sacred plan. No parent has the right to tell you who you are. Only you know that information. May the karmic justice taking place around this planet warn of the spiritual protection perpetrators are experiencing as at the boundaries of the reclaimed inner child. Let's kick this tour off right by kicking some parental ass kid style. We come in peace and with the power of our childlike might. We cannot be stopped. This will be recorded. Our future is right now. Children of America, are you ready? 50 parties, 50 albums, and 50 films that belong to you, showing yourselves what you are truly made of. Let's make magic happen in extraordinary ways. Your fearless leader and friend for life, Alexis A. Morningstar. Draft completed at 8:33 a.m. Central Standard Time. So that, everyone, is our press release. That's pretty much the actual channel download that we are traveling with as we do multiple things this year, including, etching out the new teaching. So that was from March 10th, 2025. And then I wanted to go ahead and also give you guys an inside peek at the contract. And I'll try to see how much of this is super relevant to you. I'm going to be pretty transparent because I'll let you know. So if you see me skipping over stuff, it's just because it's the way that I so when I make a contract, it gets filed. So there's a lot of filing information in this document as well. If I skip over, it's not a negative thing. And usually, mind you, usually I don't think you can pick up all this, but it's usually not I'm that stoic. But this is super interesting for me because typically I'm just talking, but it's just God is just no, go back and read this decree because these words are activating today. So I'm super excited about that because it gave voice to them today. And then same with this contract is being given voice today. So really blessed to see that. But if that's, don't think it was disingenuous. I have to kind of just be in my I'm in my Viva La Revolution frequency right now with my fit. So anyways, we're just going to go ahead and read. This is a contract between Prime Source Communications, which is another, it's essentially the written jurisdiction of spirit that I channel. It is connected to Tethered Studios, but in and of itself it's its own institution, but it's how I kind of, so when I write a contract, when I'm trying to manifest an external contract, I know it's in the image of a contract or a covenant that I've made with like my creator. So what I'll do is I'll write out the contract between me and God first, and then, you know, the arrival of said third dimensional offers have to be in the image of this. It's a way to continue to uphold value, and it's also a way to make sure that the things that you're doing are being checked out with God first. So that's the reason for this, but I'll just read it as such. Just like I said, if you see me kind of skipping through certain things, just because information that may not read well, whatever. Anyways, so Prime Source Communications, an institution that communicates the truth behind our faith. This is written January 2025. Financial account for Galindo and Taylor, Simeon Dennis. Prime Source Communications is a liable constituency viable for all life form needs and services. To summon the assistance, guidance, or jurisdiction of this institution, begin within. From there emerges the sacred written tradition of formal communication and correspondence. A well-maintained rapport will auspiciously result in the investment of Prime Source Communications into your personal request. May all who seek receive. Channeled message on behalf of Prime Source Communications Council, January 10th, 2025. So this is the spiritually legal agreement of consent to administer requested assistance. Essentially, this is if I'm going to go to God and ask for a set amount of money for our organizations to sponsor this, right? If that's like the high view of what's coming down our tree of life, essentially we want to make an agreement to consent to having Source administer that down to us. So that's what this is. Prime Source Communications and Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios, represented by their respective founders, Dennis A. Galindo II and Alexis C. Taylor, hereby gather in written contract to acknowledge the happening of this contractual agreement, as it pertains to the calendar year of 2025 for these spiritual institutions, respectively. Prime Source Communications acts as full liaison on behalf of the source of all things to represent the judgments and decisions that are to be ordained into being. Through the internal system of trust built respectively by each individual and entity present, a decision to draft this contract marks a reverence for the decrees of this time from the Most High Consciousness. We write in obedience to that which affects and provides for the whole. May the actions and findings presented in this sacred document remain pleasing to the creators in full and in alignment with the written and energetic original intent on January 10th, 2025. Administrative note, all blessing claim numbers, which is the filing, follow our Prime Source Communications filing system. Our system reads our signature, Dennis II and Alexis, as 9697. Those are just our birth years. And so our filing system will always be filed #9697 - the number of the document. Insert numerically chronological variable order here. The blessing claim number for this is like the first contract that I wrote ever on behalf of Prime Source Communication. So anyways, that's why it's just number one. Anyways, the claim draft date is January 10th, 2025. The participants are Dennis A. Galindo II and Alexis C. Taylor and Prime Source Communication. I was in Round Rock, Texas, United States, planet Earth. Contract nature is a financial agreement and programmatic calendar approval, which is basically what I'll be presenting here. The contract duration originally was drafted for February 14th, 2025 to December 25th, 2025. Presenting Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios as unified as they usher in a new era. The new teaching, a path of unification. As we embark on this divine beginning of spreading the energetics of this new word to the North American continent, where we are native to, we present artist duo Supreme Protein and their first ever tour experience, the Children of America Tour 2025, a portrait of contemporary American artists, 50 states, 50 films, asking one question: is there anything to still be desired of America? Any stones left unturned that promise of a new teaching? We, DBR and Tethered Studios, will embody the unification. That unification is not only a way forward, but it's a way that lets our overall collective commitment to peace prevail. In the presentation of this tour outline is a 2025 programmatic outline for Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios, as this will be our first year mirroring the contractual agreements curated here with that of 3D institutions. We present the following for your consideration. The project name is Children of America Tour 2025 by Supreme Protein. The calendar year is 2025, or a 9-year. The project duration is February 14th, 2025 to December 25th, 2025. Dolphin Boy Records participation objective. So we have these two sister organizations. Here's Dolphin Boy Records. He's just currently releasing a record. So he's here, but so basically what I wanted to outline is like what is each organization's stake and objective in participating in this tour in general. So for Dolphin Boy Records, we wrote out, as the label surpasses its 30-second release, which is written at the time of January, and hits its stride for 2025, we envision being a part of an initiative that introduces our business to the country formally. The investment in this project from an economic standpoint aims to accrue label visibility, sponsorship, art sales, as well as fund new production needs and goals for physicals. For Tethered Studios, the participation objective. With a backlog of media programming in need of production and publishing, 2025 looks like an expansion into necessary equipment to ascend to the quality needed to house the company's visions. As we get an opportunity to greet our country for the first time interpersonally, we expect this investment to develop our technological aptitude through hands-on experience to catapult us into being a premier media technological institution. So the project objective financially for Dolphin Boy, it says, identify the Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios customer through building an audience in real time through tour work days and work partnerships. Begin to build a metric system to analyze the data behind who the person is and how to build a partnership mutualistically. We also want to meet financial income projection of $500,000 in earnings composite for 2025 for both Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios. This number is the goal for our first year of full service operation in order to help us understand what the long-term trajectory of the businesses will be. It also tells us what our number for operation can increase to in the year of 2026 for the respective businesses. We want to meet our founders' goal of at least 25 sponsorships per organization at any level, tiers 1 through 5. As each year continues, we will define our sponsorship minimums in accordance with the official Earth sponsors royalty program handbook publishing, which highlights the respective investors in DBR and TS, and as a separate yet connected network, there will be programming and rewards in exchange for being exceptional members of these two joint communities. A token of love for being in the image of the divine support for our efforts. Let's see. The project objective spiritually. We want to experience firsts with the safety and vastness of an ocean-sized body of water. We want the ability to make a first jump as free to surrender as one spirit would like. We also want singularity of purpose and experience as a fused experience, dealing with and expressing the truest matters of the heart and nothing else. We want moments of radical empowerment to step into healthy masculine and feminine energetic expression with a commitment to being balanced. Being in balance should come the support to be fully your whole self. We also want to be working on expanding with awareness in new experiences, enough said, and we want to work on loving ourselves deeply whilst creating new life forms and art. The project objective at a physical level is the sky is always the limit on the ways that new physical lifestyles will invite an uncapped potential in how we feed ourselves physically. May this project's prioritization of physical well-being and practices facilitate that time of discovery. And then for a project by these two organizations to be the first of its kind, we will simply track how the physicality shifts throughout the duration and make projections for new goals for years to come accordingly. So really when I was thinking about the physicality of like the tour, I was just thinking, I mean, it's pretty open-ended. The tour life in and of itself requires a certain regimen and upkeep just based on how we decided we were going to produce it. And so one of the things is just being super open-minded to how like it's kind of like the sky's the limit with how that can like show up and how new opportunities for physicality can emerge. But then also we just want to like literally for us at a physical level, since it's the first time we're doing a tour together, we really just want to like look like, okay, if it's like, oh man, when we went fucking tour last 2025, bruv, we shredded, but we lost so much, I don't know. So if those things happen, we would just honor that. And so yeah. The project objective at a mental level. So we want to be tracking a metric of business planning and its effectiveness as it pertains to budgeting our resources. This will help attribute abnormalities in mental health to certain variables that could be responsible as a result. So one of the things that I'm basically saying is like we want to make sure that we're on top of business practices so that when we do inevitably have like a journey with our mental health for any number of reasons that may be out of our control, it's really easy to target like what variables are responsible for what in terms of like if you start deteriorating in mental health in the middle of tour, like what's going on, so that's something we really wanted to do throughout the tour. And then we also want routine release of unused information to continue to keep storage energetically free and clear. And that's something that Dennis and I've watched in the last 8 months really develop naturally, like this kind of like do and dump, delete, do dump, delete, like whenever we have like a thing we got to go do, we're like super present, we really like capture our moment, share our moment pretty immediately, but it's really important to just like keep unused information like flowing out. If you really don't need it, you don't need it. The project purpose. We want to create a collectible piece of art to unify and belong to the American people. A new world declaration of unity consciousness and its right to spread love to all people. Divine timing notes. The tour will be taking place in 2025, a numerical 9-year. This signifies a time of supporting humanitarian efforts, which this is. The project campaign is Making Love in Extraordinary Places by Supreme Protein, Children of America Tour 2025. The project focus checklist. An energetic trip must be taken in each state, with an emphasis on exploration. A lot of you can see that we've been building that lifestyle up in like how our daily, more so if you look at our social platforms, you can kind of see that that's like what we've curated. You know, we want to make sure we're making love and grounding our alchemized frequencies on the Earth's grid that we're on. That's another big part of it. Like for me, it's a really natural thing. Like, you know, the more people making like ordained love on the planet, like raises the frequency and the presence of love on the planet. So if we literally just like energetically and scientifically, like if we're driving around and we're like making love as like a divine union in Pennsylvania and Nebraska and fucking Ohio and all these places, it's like the light that's there, we're just adding to that. So that's a positive thing. And then we want to walk the land routinely and as a means to connect with each state's energy. That's obviously like what we do currently in our own personal lives, but it is actually like the objective of the project in and of itself. Simple, short, and sweet, and to the point. We want to create the art together. It's why we're touring Supreme Protein, because it's our duo. It's unique to like anything else on the Dolphin Boy platform, so I'm just like excited that it's a project that's about unity and that it's a group project, which is cool. So anyways, we want to remember that your setting is and always should remain planet Earth. Film and compose with that in mind, body, and spirit. So we kind of always want to make sure we're not like, you know, if we're doing like an indoor party or something, or if we're like covering something, like we really want to make sure that we're shooting with the perspective that like we reside on planet Earth, and not just like in like some sort of separate consciousness. Because again, this is something I was talking to my husband about on the walk that we were on this morning, was like, you know, it's really important to me that with this tour, I am educating the American public in very simple terms, because the American public has such a gap in our ability to comparatively like develop our collective intellect. So things that this tour can like physically do, in the fact that like by the end it's actually 50 albums and 50 films that hold all of this information from each state, but the actual art project is the timeline of the 50-50. And so when people see how big and massive and how long the series really will become, it's so that people can actually, Americans, not just people, but Americans can be educated on simple things. Like most people don't really have a concept that live in America of how big America from East Coast to West Coast is, or from the South to the North. So when I'm giving a visual, when we're giving an audible like bite into that in and of itself, we will be educating people at a basic level. Because if you watch the entirety of this art installation and you claim it as your own, do you know that you will be having access as someone who maybe has never even seen, like I said, you've never seen Missouri, you've never seen Kansas, you wouldn't even know what Utah is. Like the United States is so massive, so diverse, and so individual in what's here that many of us have no concept of like the universes that surround us. But I think our literacy as a nation and the way the collective education has to like keep up. And so I know it sounds basic, but people can't even name all 50 states. I want people to be able like to like actually do that. Like what changed my life as a child was when I was taught the 50-50 United States fucking song. Why? Because it's actually hard. It took a long time. It took us like a month to like really get it down for real. And so, again, you know, that's just like an American thing. Like, you know, like, do you even know all 50 states? Like, do you even know the capitals? Like, these are the things that, like, finding an art piece, like what I'm doing now, is, like, gonna help you to, like, clock in, you know? Because when you got these cool, crazy, sexy guys, the coolest music duo out, like, self-titling albums after states and movies after states, you're just gonna know what's in America. And that's kind of the idea here, is to, like, really show people, like, what contemporary America really is by Americans for the education of Americans. Do you get what I'm saying? I think you catch me. Okay, so we want to create abundance everywhere we go in all things that we do. That's the other last. So our deliverables. The artist duo Supreme Protein, comprised of the collaborative channel between Slumpy Melatonin and Real Big Biscuit, are sponsored by Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios to participate in the Children of America 25 tour. The tour investment is in an exchange for the following, but not exclusive to: 50 full-length motion pictures starring the group with the assistance of the label and studio combined, and 50 albums from the group per state, tour zine from duo, and design Supreme Protein merchandise for the tour. We've got the project release order, which I'm happy to tell you what the order that we're going on. This is also public information. We're going Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, California, Kentucky, New Mexico, Idaho, Hawaii. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell you that. You guys just got literally the first 8. Spirit, you won't really know because, but anyway, that's actually the project release date. So I'm going to skip over that because that's not even actually the travel date. That's like when the films will be available. We have the project premiere rollout schedule as well listed into the contract. These are things you don't need to know. We have the tour travel filming order, and that's the thing that is more like where we're going. We've got our financial agreement. Outlined below is an agreement on behalf of all three parties, Prime Source Communication, Dolphin Boy Records, and Tethered Studios, that should they administer their funds and or services, the exchange will be the agreed upon deliverables. We honor that this is the first contract of its kind being delivered to planet Earth on January 22nd, 2025, channeled through Alexis Taylor, in order to weigh show for future humans ready to ascend back to our rightful source, rather than false sources contrived from the metrics paradigm. Please note that the totals reflected here are calculated and confirmed by hand and agreed upon by all parties involved. Prime Source Communications, Dolphin Boy Records, and Tethered Studios agree to the terms of the following funds. So, the Children of America Tour 25 total production cost requested is $161,200 USD or $80,600 per organization. I mean, Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios are splitting the cost of both. The funds were approved for endorsement and the funds were administered on January 23rd by Source 2025. The Children of America Tour total labor cost requested is $125,600 USD or $62,800 per employee. We have 2 employees. The 2 employees would be Alexis and Dennis. The funds were approved, yes, and the funds administered date is 1/23. So that's the section of the tour that like not even Supreme Protein is doing, not even Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios, but like Alexis and Dennis were technically like the bodies that we hired to like drive the car, make the appointment, do the, yeah. So we're doing that aspect of it, right? Because a big part of this is like purely making an exponential profit, like purely like not wasting resources, like keeping it valuable, truly. The Children of America Tour 25 net cost is $286,800 US dollars or $143,400 US dollars per organization. The total funds were approved for endorsement and the funds were administered on the 23rd of January. Dolphin Boy Records startup equipment costs for the 2025 requested were $20,000 US dollars. The funds were approved and administered on the 23rd, and the same for Tethered Studios. Equipment costs for 2025 requested were $20,000. The funds were approved and endorsed on the 23rd. Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios have exhibited exemplary diligence and obedience as it pertained to the formulation of this new world order sourcing structure. For their trailblazing and visionary connection with Spirit, and for their 3 years of operation as spiritual businesses, Prime Source Communication will administer each business founder, Dennis Alfredo Galindo II and Alexis Taylor, their promised $500,000 US dollars to be used to honor the aforementioned costs of the 2025 working year, as well as covering the 2026 yearly startup funds for each organization. It is agreed that each founder, Dennis Alfredo Galindo II and Alexis Taylor, have full jurisdiction over the fundings, appropriation, and execution in the coming times per their spiritual ranking and aptitude. From the point of administration, January 23rd, 2025, Prime Source Communication will no longer be liable to the security of the funding. Upon the review and signing off of this document begins a spiritual era of creation manifest. May this original contract serve as the blueprint for the original birthright creative ability of source creation. In summation, both Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios will independently be responsible for covering the total cost of the Children of America Tour 25 and business yearly expenses using the $500,000 US dollars gift from the divine to cover the $163,400 US dollar total per organization. A remaining $336,000 US dollars will be at the discretion of both organizations to have jurisdiction over. This way, we retain that both founders used personal earnings from work done to jumpstart their spiritual business. No missteps or corners cut. On January 14, 2026, founders will receive a direct deposit balance of $221,850 US dollars as back pay for their completed 50 films and 50 records. So I think it's like $2,000 a film and like the same for the album. So I think we get paid. That's the lump sum that we get back for actually doing them and putting them out and them actually like meeting the deliverable. Anyway, it is advised that founders be held responsible for the total from their remaining initial $500,000 US dollars, which after tour cost will be at $336,000 US dollars. A remaining balance of $114,150 US dollars remains to be split amongst Dolphin Boy Records and Tethered Studios 2026 yearly programmatic costs and or other personal financing. While Dennis and Alexis will take their combined $221,850 US dollars each and put towards the purchase of land and a house paid in full. So those are like personal things, like that's what that. Anyways, that total cash savings comes to $443,700 US to put towards a permanent move and acquisition of land, housing, and brick and mortar. So that's also the ways that this tour connects to. It actually like jumpstarts the business's physical era. Okay, we're at 35. Let me see. I'm about to like change POV for a sec. Okay, I'll finish it this way. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. So anyways, this is Prime Source Communications' way of ensuring that all requests are met with the same $1 million payout. Should both organizations adhere to the guidance written out here, a prosperous and expansive official greeting to the new earth is in store respectively. On behalf of Creator, Prime Source, our sincerest congratulations are being rewarded for this momentous occasion. Get ready for a truly once-in-a-lifetime experience indefinitely. We thank you for your full faith in the Most High and for taking time to do business on your own terms. Please share this experience as testimony of the new way. Draft completed 1/22/2025, funding administered on 1/23/2025, and it was signed into spiritual law on 1/22/2025. And we signed on it on behalf of both organizations. This contract has been verified and completed in full. May God favor this agreement into being starting now. Blessings. So, all that being said, I just wanted to do that quick reading. Thank you guys so much for your support, hopefully, in the Children of America tour, in how we structure that. This is kind of, like I said, my testimony to the new way. It's my testimony to, like, pretty much everything that's kind of, like, going on right now. So I'm really proud to have known that the whole point in, like, me, like, verbalizing this right now is because this is the time for these things to be happening. I felt it yesterday, and I knew that I was, like, waking up in, like, a totally new experience. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of the Children of America tour. Please go follow at Children of America tour on Instagram if you want to keep up with live moment-to-moment updates. That's our Dumpiana account. It's about to be all 48 weeks of nonstop pure chaos. So thank you guys again so much for believing in the vision of this child of America. It really means a lot. It's going to do a lot for future generations to know that this kind of stuff, this kind of history, this kind of like revolutionary energy was like always never dies, and it's always available, and there's always someone coming who has the same vision of, like, you know, revolutionizing the way we're doing things. And so I am just but one of those people, and I'm grateful that at this time my ancestors can be honored for the equality that always should have existed over their experience. I come from many proper people who would have loved to be able to put something like what I'm putting into motion. So I do this with their wings on my back as well. But here is our tour in full, the Book of Blessings. So excited just to do all of this. I can't even believe we're here, but I'm so grateful for the 37 minutes of getting to do that. This is your captain signing off. We're super freaking excited. Thank you guys for listening. I hope that was informative for you. Peace.